It's often said by interpersonal experts that the first 5 minutes of any interaction between people set the tone for the rest of what is to come. For example, if you are a public speaker, you only have a few minutes to convince the audience that you are worth listening to. And if you can make them laugh right off the bat, then they're more likely to pay attention and respond well to humor throughout the rest of your speech. But if you fail at the beginning, then it is more likely that they won't find your jokes to be humorous the whole rest of the way through. And now, because of that, I feel this intense pressure to make you laugh right now, right at the beginning, so that you think I'm funny during the rest of it. And if I can't succeed, then I probably lost you for the rest of the sermon. So here goes nothing. I'm going to tell you a joke. And then, depending upon your amount of laughter or your lack of laughter, you'll get a rough idea about how the rest of this is going to go. All right, here we go. There's a group of people who are touring Ireland, and one woman in the group is very nasty, and she was constantly complaining about everything. The bus seats are uncomfortable. The food is terrible. It's too hot. It's too cold. The hotel is awful. And so on and so on and so on. Well, the group arrived at the famous Blarney Stone. Good luck will be following you all of your days if you kiss the Blarney Stone, the guide said. Unfortunately, it's being cleaned today, so no one will be able to kiss it. Perhaps we can come back tomorrow. We can't be here tomorrow, the nasty woman shouted. We have some other boring tour to go on, so I guess we don't get to kiss the stupid stone. Well now, the guy said, it is said that if you kiss someone who kissed the stone, then you'll have the same good fortune. And I suppose you've kissed the stone, the woman scoffed. No, ma'am, the irritated guide said, but I have sat on it. You get it? Did it work? Did I make you laugh? If not, I guess you can catch a nap during the rest of the sermon. Today's scripture comes from James chapter 3, and this section is entitled Taming the Tongue. And the title of that section basically comes from verse 7, which says, all kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and sea creatures are being tamed and have been tamed by mankind. But no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison. No human being can tame the tongue. Wow, isn't that the truth? Yes, now I will say that some of our tongues are a whole lot more wild than other tongues are. You know who you are. But in truth, all of us have tongues who sometimes have a mind of their own. I mean, seriously, how many times have you said something and then later thought, oh, you're so dumb, why did you say that? And if you're like, I never think that, then both your tongue and your brain are broken. Oh. Yes, you've had the taste of your own foot in your mouth so many times that you don't even recognize the flavor of it anymore. James says that the tongue is poison. In verse 6, it says, the tongue is also a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. Hoo-wee! I mean, whoa, poison, fire, that's kind of harsh, isn't it? Well, think about the things that come out of your mouth. What kinds of things come out of our mouths? Well, we swear, take God's name in vain, scream at our kids, we lie, we disrespect our parents, we talk about people behind their back, we make broken promises time and time again, we talk in anger, we tear people down, we insult, we speak of inappropriate things, and the list goes on and on and on. And these tongues that we use to do these awful things are the same tongues that we later sing praises to God with and tell him how good he is. Verse 9 says, with the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings who have been made in God's likeness. Out of the same mouth comes praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. Do you agree? Do you feel like praise and cursing should not come out of the same mouth? Do you feel like you should not be cursing human beings who God himself made in his own likeness? I mean, I think we all feel like that, but how do we do that? How do we change if nobody can tame the tongue? I mean, it says that nobody can tame it. Well, it's true that nobody can tame the tongue, but at the same time, it doesn't say that we can't steer it. In fact, amidst many negative metaphors about the tongue, James also describes the tongue as the rudder of a ship. And the rudder is a small thing, but it steers the entire ship. And just like that, the tongue steers the body. And it's important to remember that the tongue isn't always evil. It has the potential for evil, but it also has the potential for good. Proverbs 12:18 says, "The words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise brings healing." Did you catch that? Your tongue has the potential to be a sword, but it also has the potential to be medicine, to bring healing. And this whole idea of our speech is such a huge topic with so much potential application that instead of getting lost in a sea of possibilities, I just want to zero in on one aspect of it today. Remember how I told you that the first 5 minutes of a speech or sermon have the potential to direct the rest of the listeners listening? Well, this idea goes much further than giving a speech. I mean, think about it. If you've watched any action movie lately, you'll find that right from the opening credits, you've got explosions and chase scenes and gunfire and all these exciting things taking place. Action movies purposefully give you a great opening sequence because if they give you a good one from the beginning, then it's a much better chance that you will stay engaged throughout the rest of the movie. They tell you the same thing when you're interviewing for a job. That if you're interviewing, you have to make sure right from the start that you are showing yourself as being confident, charismatic, funny, charming, whatever it is that you're going for. And you have to do that right from the start because your interviewer will make a judgment on who you are at the beginning of your interactions. And then they'll look for evidences to support that judgment that they made. And if you don't nail it from the beginning, many times it doesn't matter how good you look on paper or how well you eventually warm up, you still don't get the job. And why is that? Well, that's because our words and actions at the beginning set the tone for the rest of the time. And if you start off an interaction on a bad foot, then it's hard to get momentum shifted in a good direction. I mean, think about it for a second. If you just sat down at a restaurant and your waitress disinterestedly wanders over and says, "I suppose you're going to want something to drink." Yeah. I don't care how nice she is for the rest of the meal. At the end of the day, you're still going to think of her as a bad waitress. Yes. Even the right words in the wrong tone can be damaging when we speak it. And that's why our words can be used as swords or used as medicine. And ain't that the truth? Used as swords. The old saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me." Whoever came up with that had obviously never been called any names. Because I would rather be hit with sticks and stones than somebody call me a name. The bruises from getting hit, they slowly fade away, but those names travel around with us for the rest of our lives. And the world sure is good at name calling right now, isn't it? You can't go out into the world without being made to feel worthless, unloved, uncared for, dumb, insignificant, or worse. And sadly, many times when we come home, the name calling doesn't end. It doesn't go away. Sometimes we are chopped up with a sword of words by people who are supposed to love us the most. And many times this happens because we fail to understand just how important our initial interactions are with each other. You see, just like those few minutes at the beginning of a speech or a sermon are important, the first few moments that you spend with someone when you initially see them is essential. What do I mean by that? Well, when you come home from a long day of work, you step in that door and you are either bringing a sword with you or you are bringing medicine with you. The first interaction that you have with your spouse or your kids will set the tone for the rest of the evening. The words that come out of your mouth are either going to cut them down or build them up. What do I mean? Well, imagine you walk through the door after a day of work and the first words out of your mouth are, "Please don't tell me that I smell meatloaf again for dinner." Well, you have just set the tone for the evening. Or maybe you walk through the door and the first words out of your mouths are, "I thought I told you that I wanted this picked up before I got home." Yes, you have just set the tone for the evening. When you walked through the door, you drew out your sword and you said, "You better pull out your sword to defend yourself because I am in attack mode." And a sword will always defend against a sword. If your spouse asks how your day was after coming together from being apart for the whole day, you can either respond with a sword and says, "It was awful. I don't even want to talk about it." Or you can say, "It's a lot better now, I'll tell you that." One is a sword, the other is medicine. What kind of medicine? Medicine that says, I know that you feel the rest of the world is out to get you, but as far as I'm concerned, you are amazing, you are loved, and you are safe here with me. Medicine that is sweet, sweet medicine. And we could all use a little bit more of that. And I'm not even saying that you can't have discussions about problems, but I am saying this should not happen at the onset of reestablishing your relationship that day. You understand what I'm saying? And this medicine isn't just good medicine for your spouse. You can either go into work and say, "Man, I sure hate this place," when you first see your coworkers. But what if you showed up with a smile and the first words out of your mouth were kind? Would your coworkers fall over dead? Imagine if you went to school, you walked in your class and you said something nice to your teacher. You just set the tone for the whole class. Imagine you called your friend, you needed your friend to do you a favor, but the first thing that you do is pay them a compliment. You just set the tone. And guess what? More than likely, you got compliments coming back your way. Imagine what it would be like if when you prayed, you started by praising God instead of immediately complaining to him about how bad your life is. You just set the tone. See, folks, our tongues can be fire, they can be poison, they can be a sword, but they can also be medicine. They can bring healing. They can fill with joy. The words that we use can either tear people down or they can build them up. And all I'm asking you to do is to make the first interaction that you have with someone during the day purposefully set the tone. And let's make this a godly tone. Not accidentally, purposefully. Purposefully choose words that set a godly tone for the rest of your conversation. You see, if those first words are criticism, hate-filled, annoyed, angry, obnoxious, sarcastic, depressing words, then you have just dug yourself a hole that you have to try hard to climb back out of. But if those first words are kind, caring, uplifting, happy, generous, inspiring, grateful words, then just watch how awesome of a time it can be. And they've got to be words. They've got to be words. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, if you choose no words, that's as bad as using mean words. If your spouse comes walking in the door and walks right by you and doesn't say anything, that's a sword. You know, it might not have been words, but it was still words. You know what I'm saying? If you walk right past someone and you don't acknowledge their existence, that is a sword. Since the days of Adam and Eve, silence has been used as a punishment, as a sword. And I know that your mama said, if you don't have nothing nice to say, then don't say nothing at all. But let me tell you, your mama's wrong. She is. But don't tell her I said that, okay? Don't tell her I said that. I'm actually afraid of your mama. Come to think of it, I'm afraid of everyone's mama. And for good reason. But listen, if you don't have something nice to say, then think harder. Yeah, keep your mouth shut until those words come, but then speak those words. Silence is a sword that can sting just as bad as the wrong words. So here's the question of the day. Are you up for my challenge? Our tongues cannot be tamed, but they can be directed. And if you want that direction to get off to a great start, then I need you to purposely set a godly tone. And I promise you that if you get your first interactions with people purposefully off to a great start, you are going to be amazed just how big a difference this can make in your life. Let's draw our swords a little less. Let's use our medicine a little more. Let us be people who are wise enough to set a godly tone and get our ships headed in the right direction from the very beginning. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care. God bless. Hope to see you soon.